From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
Do you have any message to the Obama administration?
Yes, I have a message to the Obama administration, which is on behalf of all the people that are being killed here, stop addressing Mubarak like he's a valid person who would find a solution. We don't want a solution from Mubarak. Mubarak will not find a solution. And it's outrageous that you still talk about him as if he should sit and talk. He should not sit and talk.
Uprising in Egypt. In this 2-hour Democracy Now! Special, we join Democracy Now! Senior producer Sharif Kouddous in Cairo, where thousands of people continue to fill Tahrir Square. That's Liberation Square, calling for President Mubarak to step down immediately. Plus, an Egyptian journalist has died after being attacked, and dozens more are arrested or wounded. We speak with the Committee to Protect Journalists about the attacks on reporters, and Professor Rashid Khalidi joins us on the significance of this uprising for Israel and Palestine. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Today marks day 12 of the uprising in Egypt. Egyptian protesters continue to hold Cairo's Tahrir Square on the 12th day of their uprising against President Hosni Mubarak. A large crowd remains hours after hundreds of thousands turned out for what was called the Day of Departure against the Mubarak regime. Thousands also gathered for parallel rallies in the cities of Alexandria, Mahalla, and Giza. The protests in Alexandria are also continuing today. The massive turnout comes in bold defiance of pro-Mubarak loyalists who violently attacked the protesters Wednesday and Thursday. The death toll from the violence in Cairo has reached at least 11, with more than 5,000 people injured. There are reports top Egyptian officials are in talks to force Mubarak's resignation or limit his presidential authority, but there's no confirmation that Mubarak is on board or that the talks hold weight. The Egyptian government, meanwhile, continues its crackdown on activists and journalists. The satellite network Al Jazeera says its Cairo bureau chief and a correspondent were both detained today. The arrests come one day after Al Jazeera's offices in Cairo were set afire. Meanwhile, a reporter for a state-owned newspaper died Friday from gunshot wounds sustained a week before. The victim, Ahmad Mohamed Mahmoud, was shot while filming state security forces confronting protesters near Tahrir Square. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, journalists have been attacked at least 101 times over the past week. In another development today, a major gas pipeline in Egypt's Sinai Desert has exploded into flames. The Egyptian government initially blamed saboteurs, but the head of Egypt's natural gas company said a leak occurred. A number of human rights workers remain missing after being arrested in a government raid. Around 35 people were detained Thursday when security forces stormed the Hisham Mubarak Law Center in Cairo. Amnesty International says 2 of its staffers have been released, but there's still no sign of any of the jailed Egyptian nationals. Amnesty International Secretary General Salil Shetty condemned the arrests.
We suspect that this is a very premeditated, attack from the government and the authorities because they don't want Amnesty International to record human rights violations. They don't want to be held to account, which is what Amnesty does. And they want to distract us from what we are doing. And, rather than focusing on the substance of what's happening in Egypt, they want us to do, spend all our time figuring out what's the security and safety of our staff.
In his latest public remarks on the Egyptian uprising, President Obama renewed his call for a transition to a new government.
I have had 2 conversations with President Mubarak since this crisis in Egypt began. And each time I've emphasized the fact that the future of Egypt is going to be in the hands of Egyptians. It is not us who will determine that future. But I have also said that in light of what's happened over the last 2 weeks, going back to the old ways is not going to work. Suppression's not going to work. Engaging in violence is not going to work.
Egyptian officials say the country has suffered at least $3.1 billion in economic losses since the uprising began. Businesses across Cairo have been shut down and stores are running low on food and supplies. On Friday, Egyptian Finance Minister Samir Radwan said the economy has come to a standstill.
It's too early to put the loss in terms of pounds and pennies, but certainly it is huge. It's going to be huge. There is no need to deny that fact. What we know for a fact is the loss due to the exchange, to the closing down of the stock exchange. That we know for sure. The rest of the real economy, the destruction of property, the tourism, 1 million tourists have left the country already, let alone this is the height of the tourist season in Egypt, as you know. So they are not coming in the numbers we want. There are many ramifications for the economy of what's going on.
According to some estimates, Egypt's economy is losing around $310 million a day. There's speculation Mubarak's attempting to wait out the protests until major economic collapse undermines the massive turnout. And this just in from Al Arabiya. We have not been able to confirm it ourselves. They are saying that President Mubarak has resigned as head of the ruling NDP party. Again, that is Al Arabiya News saying that President Mubarak has resigned as head of the ruling NDP party. Al Jazeera is also reporting President Mubarak's resignation as head of the party. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We begin our special 2-hour broadcast in Cairo with Democracy Now! Senior producer Sharif Abdel Kouddous joining us on the phone. Sharif, welcome back to Democracy Now! This latest news that we are getting, again, we have not confirmed it, but Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya are reporting that President Mubarak has resigned as head of the NDP. Explain what that would mean.
Amy, I'm seeing the same reports as well. Not confirmed yet. I'm also seeing it on Al Hayat as well. It's unclear what that means, to be honest. I don't know if that means that he would step down as president, or, you know, a lot of his cabinet has been taken out. His son was replaced, as was Safwat al-Sharif. So I'm not sure how this will play out. Just a couple of hours ago, today is a cold, rainy day in Cairo, and protesters nevertheless have filled Tahrir. I tried to get in earlier today, but there is a long line to get in now. The tanks have blocked the beginning of the Al Bridge, and so there's one checkpoint that never used to be there. And now to get in, they have erected razor wire. There's soldiers with helmets and visors on, and they're letting people in very, very slowly. So some people had been in the line for 3 hours and they hadn't gotten in, and this is compared to when you could just walk in after maybe 10 minutes.
And haven't things changed, Sharif? Before, it was the anti-government protesters themselves who had set up checkpoints, but now you're talking about the military, the Egyptian military that stood by as the pro-Mubarak forces beat up and killed, etc., the anti-Mubarak demonstrators. But now it's the military itself that's setting up these checkpoints?
Well, I mean, the military has always been there. The military always had tanks at some point blocking the entrances to Tahrir, and they would have at least one person checking, but most of the more thorough checks were done by the citizens themselves. What is happening now is that the military set up is really controlling access to Tahrir. That's what's happening. And when I left the bridge to come back here to do the interview, people had started chanting on Al Bridge saying, "We're not going home. He has to leave. We're not going anywhere," showing that they're not discouraged by this tightening of access to Tahrir. A couple of hours ago, the head of Central Command of the Army addressed the protesters in Tahrir. He got up on stage, and there's a mic, and he asked them to clear the square today. I was talking to a friend at the time. He held up the phone so I could hear the chants that were the response, and it was a resounding chant, "We're not leaving, he's got to leave," which is one of the common calls there. So I think, well, with regards to this latest news, I really can't speak to it yet to know exactly how that will play out or what that means. But again, the protesters' demands have not changed since day one, and that is the removal of Hosni Mubarak from power, the removal of this regime from power. And so, you know, he did all these things. He appointed a vice president. He shuffled around his cabinet. He basically, you know, he got rid of all these corrupt businessmen and replaced them with authoritarian military people. These are not the demands that the people wanted. And you know, in the words of Malcolm X, if you stab me in the back and you pull out the knife 6 inches, we don't call that progress. So you know, the people still want what they originally wanted, which is the ouster of the regime. And but you know, Hosni Mubarak's strategy of giving these so-called concessions and you know, promising not to run and all of that did divide some people amongst some of the protesters. I would call it a minority of the protesters. And you know, some of them said that this is enough. But after what he did on Wednesday, after what it was this violent and brutal attack on the protesters, that actually brought a lot more people back into Tahrir on Friday. You know, a lot of people I spoke to said, "Oh, I was kind of wavering on whether this would continue." But after that, you know, who knows what he has up his sleeve. But,
Sharif,
you know,
I just wanted to interrupt with this latest news as it sort of breaks as you are speaking. Al Jazeera saying Egyptian TV has reported Mubarak has resigned. Al Jazeera saying the leadership of Egypt's ruling National Democratic Party is resigning, including Gamal Mubarak, the son of Hosni Mubarak. The new Secretary General of the party is Hossam Badrawi, seen as a member of the liberal wing of the party.
That's right. Hossam Badrawi, he's a doctor. He has a hospital here in Cairo. He is a more moderate member of the NDP, but he is a member of the NDP, you know, the party that its headquarters are a blackened shell that were burnt out after the protests, you know, last week when this all started. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen going forward. I'm going to personally head back to Tahrir. There are reports. Some people believe the military is going to try and clear the square today. Tomorrow is supposed to be a full working day in Cairo. You know, everything's been closed here. The banks, many shops, most businesses, the stock market. So tomorrow they're trying to get back to what they call normalcy in Cairo. And some believe that they're going to try and take back the streets of Tahrir and force the protesters onto the sidewalks and the grassy areas and take back the actual traffic of it. So we'll have to see what happens. But you know, again, the demands have not changed. The demands have not been met so far as I can tell. I'm not sure with this latest news, but you know, Egyptians have not been able to pick their own leader in their 7,000-year history, and that's that. This is a moment where it looks like we can get to that, and so many of them are still holding firm.
Sharif Abdel Kouddous, thank you, and we hope to reach you again throughout the show in this 2-hour special that we're doing on the uprising in Egypt. Sharif, you've just been remarkable on the ground there in Cairo, in Tahrir Square, staying in Tahrir Square overnight and bringing us these remarkable reports as the rest of the media had their satellites shut down. You were sending the full video reports out, as well as one of the top tweeters in the world, your tweets being read all over. So thank you so much. We're going to come back to you very soon.